Hi, this is Mike Gibbs. Is anyone else here? If anyone else here, because it looks like there's two people, if you could let me know in the comment section. Good morning, this is Michael Gibbs. Can anyone hear me? Please let me know in the comment section. Hi, Farouk. How are you this morning? Thank you for letting me know you can hear me, Farouk. I didn't send a big email to my list today about this, so I thought I would just see who showed up, make it a small, quiet, private group. So welcome, everyone. So if you don't know me, and many of you do, my name is Michael Gibbs, and I've been working in technology for about 25 years now. I've worked in networking, I've worked in security, and I've worked in cloud computing. And over the last 2 decades or so, I've been coaching people and helping them find their first tech job or helping them get promoted. So today we're on this channel with a pure live question and answer session. Any questions that you have about your career, we are more than happy to answer. So if anybody has any questions, please let me know. Or if you'd like me to cover something in cloud computing, like the difference between a cloud architect or an engineer, or how to get your first job, or how to get promoted in tech, or what your career options are, please let me know and I'll do anything I can to help you. Good morning, Alonzo. Do any of you have any questions thus far? If so, please let me know in the chat box and then I'll happily answer them. Well, it's a quiet bunch this morning. Any kind of questions for which I could guide you? Good morning, Miracle Tay. How can I help you? Welcome, by the way. Well, I would like to do anything I can in terms of answering questions. Do any of you have any questions so far for me? Farouk, you've been out of work for 7 years and apprehensive about getting back into work. Farouk, I completely understand that. I know what it's like to have a pretty bad injury and be sidelined for a couple years. But what I will say, Farouk, is if you've done something in the past and you're home and you want to get back to work, there's really no time like the present. The economy is pretty terrible right now. And because the economy is pretty terrible, many of us have nothing better to do than actually study. And if you could actually go and study, Farouk, I think that would offer some really great options. I released a sign-up form. And the reason I released a sign-up form is we were exploring doing a free AWS Certified Solution Architect professional course online on YouTube Live. And I posted it to YouTube yesterday, and I posted it to LinkedIn, and I posted it to a few other places. And so far, we've had enough signups. We were definitely going to be running that free AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional Bootcamp in about 2 weeks. I'll give you guys the exact dates to make sure that you all know about them. It is going to be on the week of Monday the 14th. So on the week of Monday the 14th, all the way through the 19th of June, we are going to be running 3 hours per day. It will be live. We're going to run a Certified Solution Architect Professional Bootcamp. When we cover that, we will not cover it just like a certification perspective. We will not be covering in a, this is what you do and here's how to configure it. We are going to cover it in the way an architect would. We will teach you about the services and how they work and how the pieces and parts fit together. So I wanted to let you know. Now, it looks like there's some questions. And good morning, Stephanie. So happy you're here. Augusta Copal, hi, Mike. You're a senior in college with a degree in fintech. That's a great place to be. You're interested in becoming a cloud engineer / software developer. Which steps should you take in terms of certifications? Well, August, I got to say this. I would rather you tell me which you prefer. Do you want to be a software developer or do you want to be a cloud engineer? Because they're kind of like exact opposites. A software developer writes code, and a cloud engineer configures things on the cloud. Now, there might be some scripting that's minor and/or mini programming, but software and cloud really don't go together unless you choose to go down the DevOps path, or in which case that is, I can happily guide you down that path. August, could you give me a little more guidance as to what you desire to do on the cloud? For example, did you want to do DevOps, or did you want to write software for the cloud, or did you want to basically work as a cloud architect, which basically has, or a cloud engineer, which has very little to do with software development? So if you give me a little more feeling about your goals, I'll happily see what I can do to help you get there. And while I'm waiting for you to give me some more information, Eric, thank you so much about the bootcamp. And Alonzo, I see you have a question while I'm waiting for August. The only problem is, what is the time frame for studying the Go Clouds Pro ebook to sit for the exam? That's a great question, Alonzo. It all has to do with your study speed. For example, if you're one of the people that can literally lock yourself in a room for 2 weeks and do nothing other than read that book and then do a practice exam, I've seen people that could do it in 2 weeks. If you're more of a human person that has a life, a family, a job, and a few other things to do, I would say give it 2 months to pass the Certified Solution Architect Professional. August. To be hired since you want to transform into the role of a quantitative developer. Okay, so August, I've got even more questions with that. When you say quantitative developer, are you talking about something in the data science world where you're going to be running with a lot of statistical analysis and machine learning tools? Is that what you're looking to do? Because otherwise, it's going to be very different, and that's why I'm trying to ask the question. So if the better the information you give me, the better the information I'll be able to give you. Okay, so your goal is to move into the data science / machine learning areas. I want to confirm, is that correct? Because you said right eventually, though. If that's correct, just confirm that one more time. It's not always as easy to get accurate information over text and than it would be. So those positions require multiple degrees. Okay, so now we know what you want to do. So if you wanted to go down a path like that, and you already are a software developer, what I would do is I build my resume to get a certified solution architect professional, because that's typically speaking from our perspective, the minimum necessary certification to get hired. At the certified solution architect professional level, people have what I would consider to be about 20% of the knowledge that they actually really need for cloud computing, and that's a lot. And from there, you can build it, but it gives you a moderately decent foundation to begin your cloud journey. So I would say the certified solution architect professional is a minimum. Now, if you want to do something in the DevOps space, which it sounds like you don't, I would probably go down the path of a DevOps certification. And while a DevOps certification at the professional level would not be something we would normally recommend, if you are a software developer and wanted to do DevOps, then it would make sense, because the software developer is not a cloud architect. If you wanted to be a cloud architect that specialized in machine learning, and our organization is actually building a cloud data science program. We expect to have it ready and launched in about 6 months. But in this cloud data science world, you're going to need to have a very good knowledge of statistics, advanced statistics. You're also going to need to have a good knowledge of Python, because a lot of these scripts are there. Typically speaking, there's all these tools like PyTorch and TensorFlow. I would know how those things kind of work. And then also for that, I would start learning the cloud-based machine learning things, and I think I know that'll get you there. So statistics, certified solution architect professional, some kind of machine learning certification, ideally an industry one that means something, and maybe the AWS one, but get the industry one first, something on data science. Raise your statistics, and you should be good to go. Do you have any more questions, August, before I go to Farouk? And Farouk had said, where do you sign up for the AWS Pro course? So Farouk, I'm going to post that in the chat box. I created a link to sign up for it so that I'll be able to notify everyone when the course is actually available and ready. August, I heard you say not right now, thank you. I'm not sure what that was related to. The Certified Solution Architect Professional course, maybe that was what you were responding to. I was putting that there because Farouk actually asked for a sign-up sheet. And it's completely free. So if you want to attend, just sign up so we know to notify you guys. But otherwise, I hope I answered your question, August. And Farouk, I hope I answered your question with regards to signing up for the pro course. What other questions exist? The above question pertains to resume. Farouk, when you said you're 60 and you still have issues going on, I'm not sure what they are, but 60 is not too old to work in tech. I've worked with people in tech that are older than that, and you could definitely still have a great tech career at 60 years old. And there are people that I know that have come out of retirement and built fantastic careers. So I don't think you should ever let age hold you back. I don't think you should let anything hold you back. And trust me, it takes me 2 hours to be able to get out of bed and walk down the stairs in the morning just to make my breakfast because of a massive injury I had doing some martial arts training. So my perspective is, do the best you can with whatever tools you have. Not every day is going to be easy, but work through whatever you need to. And as long as your doctors say it's okay for you to do it and it's not going to take any ill impact on your health, I'd say there. I'll also say when you're coming back after a period of downtime, this is where you have to train like no one else in the world. When you are not your standard candidate, meaning you've got less experience than on average, or you've had to take a break in your career for a couple of years, you're going to have a very good explanation of the following. What exactly happened with you and why you needed to take that time off to take care of your health. You're going to have to show them in some way, shape, or form how the time off that you took gave you the opportunity to learn more and be better and master your craft. You're also going to have to show some way that would show that you learned something in all this time that you dealt with the downtime, and that something that you learned actually can put you in a position where you can do a better job. For example, when I shattered my foot and couldn't walk for a few more years, I learned more compassion. I was always compassionate. I was a medical professional, but I got more compassionate after I started to see what happened. So make sure that if you want to transition, you can show the manager that on your resume, if you've got a gap, hopefully you've done some volunteer work or something like that. And if you've done something in that section, create a section in your resume for either companies that you consulted with or other things that you did. So I know all about having health issues, but by taking exams and staying busy and actually learning technology, you're going to be in a situation where you can show others that there's still something in you. There's still fight in you. There's still capabilities, and go out there and win. That would be my recommendation, Farouk. Do you have any more questions, Farouk, before I go to the next person? Okay, got your questions answered. Fantastic. Brother Isaac, you're a little laid back. Which career do you think I should root? I was going for architect. After your videos, I realized your personality is fit as a sysops admin instead of an architect. Okay, Brother Isaac. What is it about your personality that makes you feel like you should not be an architect? So if you don't like getting in front of people, architecture is probably not the right role. If you don't like working in teams, architectures are probably not the right role. If you don't talk much, okay, Brother Isaac, that's going to be a harder role. If you don't like to speak, I will tell you that in general, if you actually don't like to speak, and then it's going to eliminate a lot of the cloud architect roles. A cloud DevOps role, a cloud SysOps role would be better. You're still going to have to speak to people, but it'll be a lot less. So if you are interested in the SysOps roles, Brother Isaac, you know what you could do? You could actually get the training of a cloud architect, and then ultimately what you could do is Then we could get you the specialized training of sysops. And then by doing that, you could work happily in sysops for a long period of time. And then say 2 or 3 years from now, where you realize you want more, you want to double your salary, for example, or triple your salary, or you want to move up the ranks and you want to be in a position of leadership, then if you have the right background, then you can move into that. Or you could just focus directly on being a cloud engineer and focusing on sysops, Brother Isaac. So do you have a preference of which one of those two options would make you happier? Because if so, I will definitely give you the right path on how to get there. And then we'll deal. There's some more questions, and I've seen them, so I promise to answer them. I just wanted to answer Brother Isaac's question first. Can you let me know a little more, Brother Isaac, exactly what you want? You think cloud engineer? Yeah. If you don't like to talk to people, like cloud engineer is probably a great place to be. To be a cloud engineer, I would still say you need a minimum of the certified solution architect professional. Minimum, because that's basically entry-level practice. And don't go down getting these 4 or 5 different associate level certifications. The associate level certifications will not help you. The reason they're not going to help you, and for example, we see people that'll take a sysops, a DevOps, another associate, a cloud practitioner, and never get the certified solution architect professional. When all those other things, associate certifications, and I don't want to be mean, I don't want it to sound bad, they're kind of like, you went to first grade or kindergarten. They're basically where you learn the basics of life and you learn the basics of tech, but that's it. And when people go to a DevOps associate, sysops associate, developer associate, unless they wanted to be a developer, this kind of associate, that kind of associate, on the way to get to the goal, which is the certified solution architect professional, it typically costs them 6 months of their time. And since the average cloud architect in the US earns $593 a day, if somebody spends 6 months of their time wasted on things that are not related, it costs them about $75,000 a year on average. So we don't recommend that. We recommend finding what you need. So if you wanted to be a cloud engineer, you probably need to do a certified solution architect professional. But you're also going to need something, because the cloud is really a network and a data center. So you're also going to need something, Brother Isaac, that's going to teach you that. So, Brother Isaac, do you have a Linux background? Do you have a Cisco routing and switching background? Do you have a security background? What other things, Brother Isaac, do you actually have that we can bring to the table to help you get this cloud engineer role? Or if not, let me know exactly what kind of cloud engineer you desire to be, because there's cloud engineers that focus on DevOps, there's cloud engineers that focus on sysops. And I think you said you wanted to do sysops. If that's the case in automation, Brother Isaac, you have no IT background. If you want to do sysops, you're going to have to get some very good scripting skills. Do you have any Python skills, for example? And JSON skills? You have only a little SQL skills. I will tell you, it's probably going to be much harder for you to become a cloud engineer with DevOps and SysOps than it would be to be a cloud architect. Because as the architect, it's more conceptually based. And as an engineer, it's going to be a lot more hands-on based. So what I would do if I was you, Brother Isaac, I would start learning Python, because it's going to be there. I would get that certified solution architect professional, and I would focus on it and focus on it and focus on it some more. I would start writing some basic bash scripts. I would definitely start doing some bash scripts, some basically a form of shell scripts. I would get real good at Linux administration. So build yourself some Linux things, add users, add passwords, play with permissions, build yourself Linux firewalls, build yourself Linux VPN things. Really get hands-on in Linux, because you're going to be doing a whole lot of it. Then I would start being able to get really good at looking at log files, and I would pretty much focus on automation of everything. So start looking at those sysops tools like Terraform, start looking at the CloudFormation, and really master these things. If you want to do those sysops things, you're going to be basically just typing and looking at a computer screen all day long. And it's all going to be configuration, and fixing things. That's kind of sysops. So, Brother Isaac, did I answer your question on how to get there? Guru Theon, you most definitely can join the boot camp. There's plenty of spaces that people would actually be able to be there. And Brother Isaac, we are going to, on the week of June 14th or 15th that week, we are going to have a free live on YouTube Live, AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional Program. Invite as many people as you like. We're basically going to do this format. We did one for our students internally, which obviously our students internally could talk to each other, but they had a great time. But what we'll do is we'll do 20 minutes of lecture and 10 minutes of questions and answers, and we'll do that through the entire boot camp, which will be 3 hours a day for 5 days straight. I don't want any training that we ever do to be like a Udemy course where basically people are pushing content to you and you have no ability to ask questions. That's not the best way to learn. So we're going to do this free the week of the 15th, and all of you are welcome to join. I will drop the link to that registration form below. And then afterwards, it's going to stay on YouTube so people can rewatch it again and again. It's one of the ways we try and do what we can for the community. So going down the list, Kranthi, you're preparing for the SAA02 now, and later would also prepare for the AWS Developer Associate. Kranthi, why do you want to do the AWS Developer Associate? Is your goal to program, or what is your goal? Because the goal will determine what certifications you should have. And while you're doing that, Roku07, you are new to IT. You have worked for years as security guard. Okay, that's fine. You're studying to be a business analyst for 18 months. And now an AWS Solution Architect, can you get a job? Well, the answer is you can always get a job as a solutions architect. The key is if you're getting your first job as a solutions architect, there's a process of what you need to do when you don't have experience. We've been helping people do this for approximately 20 years now. We actually have a program that we developed 20 years ago to help people get their first tech job, and it's worked for many people, including me when I left for medicine. I'm going to drop a link to a free webinar that we're actually going to do tomorrow, and we will tell you all the steps in this free webinar, how to get your first job, exactly what to do, exactly what to study, exactly what the hiring manager desires, literally everything. We will cover everything from the beginning to the end of how you find your first cloud architect job. We've used this technique and method for a very long time. I used it initially for me when I went from medicine to tech, but I've used it for countless individuals, and they've all done well. We have that thing tomorrow. It'll be free from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And if your goal is AWS DevOps, Kriti, I would start. Do you have a DevOps background? And the time of so Roku07, the time for tomorrow's webinar in the US is noon, so it will be 5 p.m. GMT that we're having tomorrow. We also run them every Monday, and on Monday mornings we run them at 0900 Eastern time, which is 2 p.m. GMT. But tomorrow is actually going to be at 5 p.m. GMT. I think you'll really enjoy the webinar. We will answer all your questions, so I highly recommend joining that webinar tomorrow. So Kranthi, I'm trying to go back to try and see exactly. I may have missed. I am not sure. Oh no, we did. We definitely did August. Okay. Oh, Kranthi, so you said you're coming from an IT background and working as IT support. Okay, that's very helpful. How many years of IT support, and what kind of IT support are you doing? Is it network support? Is it security support? Is it desktop support? The more information you give me, the better information I can make a decision. I wish we were actually on Zoom where you could actually talk. So please just be a little bit detailed, because IT support could be one of a lot of things. Okay, while I'm waiting to get a little more background about your support issues, I'm checking to see if there's any more questions that I've missed in the group. I'm still waiting for some information on that. You're currently a developer associate while working. as a freelance mobile web developer. However, there are literally no cloud jobs here. You're saying Austria as in Europe? Is that what you're saying? Because there are definitely plenty of cloud-related jobs in Europe, Austria, Hungary, and those places. You should be able to easily find a cloud role in Austria. I mean, that should never be a problem. I've got many students in surrounding countries that have found jobs literally within 4 weeks of working with us. So that should not be a problem. The key is when you're in a country that has less opportunity. For example, my family's from Greece. When you're in an area that is less big, you got to do your search a lot bigger. You're going to have to search to IT recruiters and not apply to jobs directly, because they will be able to give you many jobs that exist all over continental Europe. Plus, when you're in a country that has less, for example, a recruiter reached out to me very recently, and the recruiter wanted me to actually, from the US, manage a client in Japan on Japanese hours. So the cloud, because it's ubiquitous and it's kind of everywhere, there are a tremendous number of cloud jobs. If you're not looking for it, there's something wrong with your search, or there's something wrong with your resume. So I have a philosophy after coaching people for 20 years. If someone's been on more than 3 interviews and they've not been hired, there's a problem. And what I mean by that is there's either a competency problem, there's an interview technique problem, or there's a soft skills problem. You should never have to go on more than 3 interviews to get hired with, 3 different companies. If you do, it needs to be fixed. If that's the case, start watching some of our videos on how to do these kind of things. I've been on 5 job interviews. I've been hired all 5 times. My students typically get hired on the first job interview or the second job interview they go to. It's a process and a technique to do this. So there are jobs in Europe to do this. It's just Europe's a little slower right now. They had bigger lockdowns than a lot of the world, which kind of made life a little challenging, which kind of damaged the economy. But there are plenty of cloud jobs. If you want to ask any more questions about how to do it, that's fine. The question is what kind of a cloud job? Because if you're learning the developer associate and you, for example, you have some web background, the developer associate is not going to be enough to get you hired. You're going to need basically a professional version, possibly a DevOps professional version as well. And you're probably still going to need, if you want to be on the cloud, a certified solution architect professional. That's kind of your basic minimum entry level, or is at least one professional certification about the cloud and a professional certification in your industry. So, for example, security people, we like to see a certified solutions architect professional along with a CISSP or SCEH, some big certification that's going to show you really know it, as opposed to the light ones like the developer associate, which basically show an introduction. So that's what I would do if I was you. But if you have more questions, please come off mute. Roku 7, does a business analyst understanding come in handy when working as a solution architect? LN, everything comes in handy when you're working at, or Roku 7, everything comes in handy when you're working as a solution architect. Well, I should say cloud architect. I'm not really sure exactly what a solution architect is. That's a made-up term, because I've seen plumbers that use the term solution architect. The people that do your blinds at Home Depot are solutions architects. And the people that sell you phone service are also solution architects, because they're solving something. So as a cloud architect, realistically speaking, the more your capabilities are, the better. If you've developed great people skills, for example, from working in customer service, huge asset for you as a cloud architect, for example. By comparison, if you've learned how to bring out the best in others, that's great. I come from medicine, and you know what? In medicine, here's what the process is. You meet with a patient, you ask them some questions, you assess them by looking at things and looking for objective findings, you diagnose them, and you make a plan. And you know what the job of an architect is? You meet with the patient, you meet with the client, you ask some questions, you do a little evaluation, and you make a diagnosis, and then you make a plan. The plan is just called an architecture. So your past life will do that. So when you're coming as a business analyst, if you've actually been looking at data and being able to look at the data and analyzing the data and making recommendations to people based upon that data, that's something that a cloud architect would do. Now, if you're just processing data and data entry, that's not necessarily. But if you're actually doing business analyst work, and you're actually looking at data and you're determining how that data affects the organization, well, let me tell you, that is a really good position to be from. So that could come in handy, and that will be necessary on the interview for you to teach people exactly what you're doing. So I highly recommend that. I hope I've answered your question there, but feel free to ask more questions or give me more information. And Kariti, again, you said 5 years experience in technical support. What kind of support? Is it the network support? Is it a desktop support? Is it cloud support? Is it software support? I'm trying to figure out where your strengths are and how they pertain. So I need to know what those 5 years are, because you could have 100 years or you could have 30 years in tech, but it could be basically just tier 1 deck support for printers, or it could be anything. So I'm not trying to be difficult. I just need something that's specific enough that I know what you've actually done for the last 5 years in support. While we're looking at that, Reginald Simpson, problem, I have only 2 years of experience. That's fine. Working on as an escalator and a knock. You meaning you're an escalation point of contact? You have the CCNA but no experience. And Roku 7, I'll give you some better guidance in a minute that I think would be very helpful for you with your background. Let me finish this one. You have the CCNA but no experience. So you said you're working in a knock. So what are you doing in the knock? Are you an escalation point to troubleshooting where if someone calls because the network's down, the tier 1 and the tier 2 people basically do the first basic level things. They come to you, and then you start going to the routers and you're out evaluating the routing, and you're seeing, which routes might be, for example, in the BGP rib that are not in the forwarding information base, or are you looking for routing loops? Are you checking access lists, distribute lists, or things that are related to traffic not getting through? Are you working on BGP policy, for example, looking and saying, why are the packets coming in out of order? So 2 years experience in the NOC could be highly, highly, highly valuable. Escalating trouble tickets. So are you the one that does the escalations, or are you the one that actually does the troubleshooting, Reginald? Because there's both. Typically speaking, some organizations in their NOC have a person that's responsible when things get bad. That sort of is like the point of contact that goes through the phases of escalation. Or are you the troubleshooter? Well, Miracle Tay, your question is super easy. How would not having a BA and IT compare? It's irrelevant. My degrees are in business and medicine, and that's all I've ever studied, and I never, never, never had a problem in my entire life. Okay, Kranthi, you said service desk analyst, help desk support. Help desk for what? Help desk for the desktop, help desk for the network, help desk for databases, help desk for what? Unless it's just purely just generic help desk. And if that's the case, you can let me know. But I mean, I've said, the reason I'm asking is I've set up help desks for software people, and I've helped people build help desks for just network. And that's why I'm being strict. Also validating alarms. Again, what kind of alarms? Are they alarms coming from computers? Are they alarms coming from routers? Are they alarms coming from firewalls? Are they coming from IDS systems? You said 5 years tech support, and I'm not trying to be difficult. I have no idea what that could be. That could be in any industry. So what kind of alarms? Ping CSR. Okay, so what you're doing is you're doing ping, you're doing SSH and trace routes. Is that the best way I can describe it? Okay, Karithi. Excellent. You're doing desktop support. Okay, so now that we know your desktop support, that changes everything. So now I can give you some guidance. Let me just look at all the things you told me in the past, 5 years in tech support. See, I'm trying to read through all the things that you've posted in the chat box. This is so much easier. Your goal is for AWS DevOps, that's fine. So you're for IT background working in IT support. And then Reginald, your situation is going to be much, much easier. So Karanthi, you've got 5 years experience in support. I'm trying to see, do you have any software development background, Karanthi? And then Ellen, I don't think the GDPR things in Europe are going to have that much of an impact on the cloud market. I think that the privacy issues are just there. They're going to be something we have to deal with. And on the cloud, off the cloud, we're going to have to deal with it. Off the cloud, a lot of these security issues are much easier to do, but you can still do all these things. Okay, so Krathi, if you don't have coding experience and you want to go to DevOps, realistically speaking, you're going to have to learn how to be a software developer, and then you're going to have to learn DevOps, and you're still going to have to learn the cloud. So, Karanthi, if you are not a DevOps person and you are not a software developer, that would be by far the hardest career transition you could possibly make and the most difficult, and it would probably pay you less than being a good cloud architect. But that's your option if you want to do that. But if you want to do DevOps and basically you're doing help desk and you are not a software developer, you're going to have to learn to be a software developer, and then you're going to have to learn how to do DevOps, and then you're going to have to learn the cloud. So if that's something that you really desire, you can absolutely do that. And we can talk about what that would look like if that's exactly what you're looking for. So Reginald, in your particular case, I think I want to make sure no on-job experience. Yeah, so you don't have any, if you have no experience with, what I'm saying is no on-job experience in software. So Karanthi, if you have no experience in software development, that will be by far the hardest career transition anyone could ever make, because you're going to have to spend a good amount of time learning to code, like at least a year or two to actually get coding knowledge. Then after that, then you're going to have to learn DevOps, which is probably going to take you a good year or two to get some real knowledge there. And then you're going to have to learn the cloud, which would probably cost you 6 months to a year. So I'd say if you really wanted to do that, that is a particularly nasty challenge. I'm not saying you couldn't do it. I think you could be great at it if you want, but that would be the process to go from desktop support to DevOps. It's going to be a very big challenge because you're going to have to learn those 3 specialties. So just understand that. And okay, so Reginald, I want to go back to you real quickly, because I started to answer yours, then I asked for more information, and then you gave me some more. So Reginald, only escalating tickets, also watching ping desktops. Okay, so Reginald, promise you only have 2 years experience. That's fine. So if you've got, Reginald, if you've got 2 years experience in the NOC and you wanted to, for example, become a cloud architect, that's actually a relatively easier transition. And the reason it's the easier transition is the cloud is a virtualized network and a virtualized data center. And I will tell you, I know more principal cloud architects than you can imagine that went to AWS and GCP and all these other big cloud providers that didn't have a single cloud certification and that had minimal cloud knowledge, but what they had was good networking knowledge. So Reginald, if I was you, what I would do is I would get myself a certified solution architect professional. I would upgrade my CCNA to CCNP because that's where you start learning about how to use the network. Then I would make sure, this is what we do with our students, that you focus on your soft skills, emotional intelligence, empathy, presentation skills, the ability to ask the right questions to people. And I would also focus on my writing skills because as an architect, you're going to spend an easy 50% of your time documenting, 25% of your time designing, and 25% of your time meeting with customers. So that's how I would fill in those gaps, Reginald. That's what I would do if I was you. But coming from the network, your position is going to be very easy compared to others. Mohammed, welcome. Thank you for saying that you're here, and I hope you guys are all doing great too. As I'm asking questions, if you like what we're doing, if it's possible for you to leave a like or a comment, it actually helps our channel grow, and it helps us get more people in these free services, since we care a lot about providing free free training to the cloud architect community, but that's only if you're enjoying it. So, okay, so let's go to the next person. Sanjay, you're a cloud engineer with 3 years experience. That's great. Your question is, how is cloud migration from on-premise? Do you mean, are your question, is there a demand to go from on-premise to the cloud? Is that your question, Sanjay? Or what type of migrations are going from the cloud? I'm not sure what your question is. Give me a little more question and I'm happy to answer that. And well, so Karanthi, how you go from desktop support to the cloud is very easy. If you want to just be like a cloud architect. But if you want to do DevOps, which is what you told me, you're going to have to become a software developer, and then you're going to have to learn DevOps. And then after you learn first you have to learn how to code, then you're going to learn how to do DevOps, and then after that you're going to have to learn the cloud. So what that would be is, make sure you've got all the relevant software development skills, and the skills matter 100 times more than your certifications. And then you're going to have to do the DevOps path. And then after that, you could do the Certified Solution Architect Professional or the DevOps Professional option. But those DevOps and Certified Solution Architect Professionals for a DevOps career are minuscule compared to the task of being a great programmer and having great use of the tools. Things like Jenkins and Spinnaker, things like Jupyter Notebook, all these DevOps tools, they are absolutely essential. So for that role that you told me, it's going to be pure. Spend a year or two learning to code, spend another year or two learning DevOps, and then after that, get the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional and the DevOps Professional. Now, if you want to ask me how to become a cloud architect, that's a much easier pathway, but it's still going to take time, but it's going to be much, much, much easier because you're not going to have to get in the weeds and be an expert software developer to make it happen. So, okay, so Sandra, your question is, so I'm still waiting for you to ask the question, Sandra, or to clarify. Roku, for someone who knows nothing about IT and wants to be a cloud architect, how long do you think they realistically need? So Roku, I deal with this concept all the time, and I typically put people in, Sandra, I'll give you exactly how to do that in a minute. So Roku, for someone who knows nothing, I'd say I have a 16-week program, and I'd say it's typically around 6 months to 9 months or 6 months to a year to take someone that's got no background in IT to train them. I'll tell you what I do in my programs. This is how I teach my students. First thing I do is I take my students, and then I actually look at all the things they've done in their background. And we have them basically fill in some forms, and we try and find someone's hidden talent and strengths. Then from there, we actually ask their interests and their goals and the things they like. Then what we do is we build a career development plan. We call it the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, and because we're building Cloud Architect Career Development Plans. And what they do is they basically look at your goal career, and they look at your starting point, and then we work with you to build a map to basically get you to your goal. And in the process of building a map, we have the opportunity to really do a lot of tremendous things for our customers. It's that map, it's that thing that can save you 6 months to a year of getting to where you're at. So I'd say that's definitely the thing you need to do. Then what we would do with our students is first, the cloud is a virtual network in a data center. So we teach our students basic networking. Then we teach every student that's part of our program. We add the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional Training from an architecture perspective, not a certification perspective, because we're concerned about building architects, and our programs will always be different. Ours will always focus on how to do it as opposed to how to configure it, because that's what cloud engineers do and cloud architects design, so we do that. So then after we teach networking, then what we do is we teach people about the cloud. The cloud is basically a virtualized network in the data center, so what do our students do? And you can do this on your own if you're not our students. The first thing that we do is we teach people to build everything that makes the cloud possible. So we start, for example, with setting up server virtualization, building a container, building a firewall, building a VPN concentrator, setting up Active Directory for IAM, basically building everything that's necessary to enable the cloud, and then doing networking things too. And then after we do that, then what we do is we then have our students build the cloud. They take our servers, they set up a brand new cloud computing environment with an OpenStack Ansible cloud, which is the primary cloud that's being deployed in organizations that run hybrid technologies. And hybrid is the future. Everything is hybrid now. It was going to go straight to the cloud, but Amazon did something that caused most executives that I know to say, no way, we can't all go to the cloud. We either need multi-cloud or we're going to go hybrid cloud. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So since we're dealing with hybrid clouds environments, which there's two ways to do a hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud environment one, you basically have your traditional data center, and then you have your cloud, and you run a couple of direct connections between them. Perfect, brilliant architecture. But there are certain things that the cloud does better than the data center. For example, Brother Isaac, I will give you the information on how to do that today. So the cloud has auto scaling, which is wonderful. The cloud has the ability to provision and add things as necessary. So what do we typically recommend? We typically have our people build an OpenStack Ansible cloud in the data center, and that gives them all the benefits of cloud computing, and then we connect that cloud to the AWS cloud or the GCP cloud or the Azure cloud. In the process of doing that, you've got everything. And then what we do with our students is twice a week, we actually do architecture projects. And on that, what we do is we take a data center and we basically make our students do migrations. They make them design it. We do this twice a week with our students. And then we have 6 case studies. And some of these case studies that we do with our students get to the point of like a principal cloud architect because we know how to teach them. So what do? I mean, we have students design an architecture for 10,000 remote locations. We have our students design an architecture for a bank. We have our students design architectures for healthcare. We have our students design architectures for big, giant global organizations. They do it every day for 4 months. And so we've got live, we've got all these things. And that's really how we build extreme cloud computing competency. And we do this week in, week out. And our students, we've had, of the people that signed up in the last 8 weeks, 4 of them have already gotten their first cloud jobs and they're all happy. You don't have to do that with us, but we do recommend the process. That's the process to be technically competent. 50% of what we employers think when we do an interview is not related to your competency. So here's the formula. A candidate basically is scored 50% on competency and 50% on soft skills, emotional intelligence, interview skills, empathy, enthusiasm, attitude. So what we do is we work to get our students to be a 50 out of 50 on the soft side and a 35 to 40 out of 50 on tech, because that's the best anybody's ever going to be able to do, to give our candidates like a total score of 85 to 90 out of 100, which let me tell you, after the last 4,000 interviews, it's extremely hard to actually interview someone that gets above a 65 or a 70, and that's out of 1,000 people. That's how hard it is to find someone good. So that's our formula for doing it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link right now to our program since somebody asked me about it. And I'll drop them in along with the 25% off coupon code. And then after that, I'll go back to answering questions. But someone asked me a question about what we did in the chat box, and that's why we're doing that. I'm talking about this. So these are the links to our program along with, ooh, that didn't come in. That came in very ugly. Let me do this one at a time. So this is our primary program, the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. This is something that we've built, and it's the culmination of 20 years of coaching experience that we have. Brother Isaac, if you can dedicate 6 hours a day as my student, will you still need 6 to 8 months? Probably not. I would say if you can put 6 hours a day into something and you're really motivated, in about 5 months, you should be able to get a great cloud job if you put in basically a full day's work every day. So no, that's not a challenge at all. I also have an additional program, which I don't talk about that much because it's not my main focus. I call it the Cloud Architect Experience Program, and then I'm going to get back to answering questions. The Cloud Architect Experience Program is basically the same technical program as our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, but it doesn't have any mentoring. It doesn't have any live classes. It does not have any of the soft skills, emotional intelligence, doesn't have any of that. The only reason I created that program, and I'm being completely honest with it, is I have so many wonderful students in, say, India and Africa. I mean, really great people. And when they see my videos and my YouTube videos that are free, and I say, get yourself a 16-core Xeon server with 128 gigs of RAM and do these labs, and people are like, Mike, we can't buy that. So I created this as an extremely low-cost program where people could basically just use my servers and do all the cloud labs. But this is without, us involved. There's no support. It's just a chance for people to basically buy low-cost access to servers. So I'm popping that in there too, and then and also with a 25% off coupon that could be used for that. And then I want to go back to actually asking questions, because that's really what our main point was. Okay, so you want to know your, so Sanjay AWS asked the question, what are my thoughts on migrating from the cloud to the data center and how that's going to occur? If you asked me 9 months ago, I would have told you that we were starting to get towards migrating to the cloud for all these fantastic things the cloud has to offer, like serverless environments. They were really a cool option. They had some extreme risks, but they still had some great options. Now what you're going to see primarily is just lift and shift architectures. You're going to see mostly that. And see, here's what happened. So there was a company in the US that placed all of their assets in AWS, and AWS didn't agree with their mission, and AWS basically closed the account and literally put the customer out of business. Now, I'm not going to say whether I agree with the customer's mission or not. That's irrelevant. What happened is AWS literally kicked the customer out of the data center because they did not care. They didn't like what the customer's business was doing. And let's be fair, that's AWS's option. It is. But now what's going on is the IT people that are looking at this, they're saying, wait, if a company can close us down simply by not liking what we're doing, we can't put all our eggs in one basket. We can't go serverless. We can't go exclusively to the cloud. We don't want to be put out of business. So I will tell you, after management consulting in tech for 20 plus years, dealing with people, here's what CEOs worry about. Their CEO's main job is to, increase shareholder value. And after that, it's like, how do I keep the business going? How do I keep the business going if I get hit by a bus? How do I keep the business going if there's a fire? How do I keep my business going if there's an earthquake? How do I keep my business going if there's a network cut? They think about all these things. And now the thought of being able to be shut down because someone doesn't like what you're doing, that changed everything. The other thing that's going on and why we're going to see 10 times more lift and shifts than cloud native environments like serverless is the following. The cloud providers are like your cable companies or your phone company. They give you this beautiful discount introductory rate for a year or two to get you in, and then afterwards you start paying the real prices. And people know that if they completely go serverless and they use all these cloud native functions and they pay millions and millions and millions of dollars to reconfigure their applications, and the service provider or the cloud provider basically raises the rates, then there's really nothing else that you can do. You're going to be 100% completely stuck. So that's why you're going to see a tremendous number of lift and shift architectures. So Roku 07, we're not a certification training provider. We are a career provider. Certification courses basically get you certified, but they're nothing close to getting you hired. So because of that, I interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people in the last 8 weeks. I have yet to find a single person with an AWS certification that was hireable without cloud architect training. And that the reason that difference is the certification training teaches you how to configure things on the cloud, which is great. But that's what a cloud engineer does. A cloud architect is going to meet with the client. They're going to ask the right questions. They're going to figure out what to build and design a solution. That's not what's covered in certification training. And that's why I have so many people that have come to me to help get their first cloud architect job, because the certification training is maybe 10% of the problem. So, when you're done your certification training, if you're not getting to your goals, feel free to reach out to us. We can help you. And even if you don't reach out to us, if you check out our YouTube channel, and if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. We literally do 3 videos per week, and they're all designed to help you with your cloud architect career. So I hope I've answered your question there too. What training courses cover the things that I'm talking about, Brother Barry? I wish I could say there was another one that does it. As far as I'm concerned, I know I'm the only person that actually does this type of training. And the reason I do this type of training is I've been in coaching others for 20 years. And in the process of coaching others for 20 years, I can tell you that it's very hard to break into the training world and actually know the difference. So, Brother Barry, I will tell you my experience in the beginning. What ultimately happened is I was practicing internal medicine. And I was having a great time with it, but I just love tech more. So while I was practicing internal medicine, one day I woke up and said I want to do tech. So I became a Microsoft certified systems engineer. I became a Cisco certified network professional. I took a 10-day boot camp. It was $11,000. And then I became a Cisco certified design professional. Again, super expensive thing to do. I did this 20 some years ago. And what happened is I literally, Brother Barry, started applying for jobs. And I applied for a bunch of jobs. I got 5 instant rejections and I stopped applying. Why did I stop applying? Because if you do the same thing again and again and again, and you consistently get the same answer, it's insanity to keep going. So what did I do instead? I started calling tech recruiters. And I started asking them what was the ideal candidate. And the tech recruiters told me. I spoke to 50 tech recruiters. I sent out 50 gifts for their time, and I knew. So I built myself a master list of what do hiring managers desire. And I did that. I went on my first interview to be a network engineer. They liked me so much, they made me a senior network engineer. And within 6 months of starting tech, I was the lead architect at the second largest internet service provider in the world. So, but I also locked myself in a room for 6 to 8 hours a day to actually become great. But the point is what I did is I did the research to figure out what the manager wanted versus where I stood and how to get there. And then when I went into tech, I was always on the interview board, and I interviewed thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people. So what I actually did in the process of interviewing these thousands of people is I got to learn what people do right and what people do wrong. So I created this based upon my experience on all the thousands of interviews and what hiring managers said and what I actually had to do to move up the ranks. And I also approach this differently because I come from medicine. So as far as I know, I don't know of anyone else, Brother Barry, that's actually doing what I'm doing in the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. I have multiple students that are constantly researching this everywhere to see what's going on. And I've yet to find a single person that's doing it. So that's why I created this program. I was retired. I was not looking to work. I only got involved in this because, I decided to train someone. I was asked to coach someone. I've been coaching people for 20 years. What happened is I said cloud computing is the place to be. It was a friend's son. I didn't have a lot of time. So what I said is I would coach this person 4 hours on Fridays. And I bought him the 3 best-selling courses that you can buy. The 3 best-selling courses you can buy, they all came from a continent in the Southern Hemisphere, in Asia Pacific region, the 3 courses that I bought. I'm not going to say any more than that. You can infer the names, but think about that other continent. And at the end of the experience, all the people that I looked at the content, and I could not find a single program that would help somebody be hired when they were done training. So that's why I wrote the Certified Solution Architect Professional book, for which I stripped out 10 pages and gave out 25 free versions of the CSA, the Certified Solution Architect Associate. That's why I released a completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate training program. And I'll drop a link for that here. That's why we're doing a free AWS certification bootcamp. And no, we are not in the certification business. We are in the consulting business, the training business, and the career business, and helping people get their first jobs. The only reason I did any of these certification videos is because the other training programs that I found there wouldn't have helped my students get a job. So I do the certification training videos 100% free, and I release them on free medium like YouTube and things like that. And I do it explicitly and exclusively to get people hired. So I'm going to drop the link to the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate course as well. It is completely free. And if you don't have any of my ebooks or something and you'd like some, that's completely free. So Brother Isaac, does the Cloud Architect Career Development Program and the Cloud Architect Bootcamp yield the same results? Well, no. So if you're asking about the bootcamp that I did last week for my students that was completely focused on technology, where we did a day of intro to networking and then and intro to security concepts. And then after that, we did a certified solution architect professional. And then we did an AWS advanced networking and an AWS advanced security. And then we spent 2 entire days where we designed architectures all day long for various cloud computing environments, and then did a full day on Saturday. That's what we did in our student boot camp. Now, I will tell you, we took that entire 6-day boot camp and filmed it, and we didn't film it with Logitech Brios like I'm on right now. We used professional cameras, and in the process of using professional cameras, we got really good recordings. And then we took all that information, Brother Isaac, and we literally are putting it on our Cloud Architect Career Development Program completely free. So what's going on is that anybody that takes our Cloud Architect Career Development Program will not only get the program that took us 20 years to build, but they're also going to get the boot camp, last week's $1,400 boot camp, completely free inside of the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. So that's really the best program for you to do because it's the combination of both. I just did that because my students said I need a boot camp, so I made a boot camp for them. And the intention was to take all that content and add it to the career development program, which is what we did. And that way, everybody can get the job they want and the career they want, because we are very focused not on just getting certified. Our focus is on getting people hired. Hired and certified are a little bit differently. So I don't like to talk too much about our stuff on these YouTube lives, but I really want to answer anybody's questions. So when the questions come in, and so Roku 07, in the case that I come to you with your solutions architecture certificate, what is the next stage of getting it with someone like you? So Roku 07, the first process that we would use someone that has a certified solution architect associate cert, first we would go back to the beginning anyway, because we know that the certified people, realistically speaking, almost never actually understand the cloud. So we start from the beginning, then we ramp our people up and get them to the level of certified solution architect professional very quickly. And then we pick a specialty with them, and we pick a specialty and they focus that. So realistically speaking, what we have to do is we have to give you massive cloud knowledge. And whether you're with us or outside of us, this is the process. You have to get deep, very strong, high performance cloud knowledge. You need to understand how the cloud works. What is the network? What is the data center? What is the difference between block storage, object storage? How do they work? When do you use them? What are the use cases? When do you use NFS file storage? When do you use Samba type file storage or SMB file storage? When do you do any of these things? These are the kind of things. How do you design a security policy? How do you design a security architecture? What are you trying to protect? How can the technology improve the way people work? How can the technology improve the way people collaborate? How can the technology offer new services to a business? How can the technology solve a customer problem? That is the job of the architect. Not configuring things, not the management console, not the CLI or the API. It is solving problems with technology. That is what cloud architects do. So if you want to be a great cloud architect, and there's no one in this room that can't be a great cloud architect, that is the process. That is what we do. We've been helping people get great architect and engineering roles now for 20 years or get promoted. That is our formula. You can do it with us, and that's great. We'd love to work with you. Or you can do this on your own. We're not hiding our formulas. Now, obviously, we have special connections with recruiters, and we have special connections with lots of people because we've done this. But whatever you do with us, without us, make sure you do those things, and you will get your goal. I hope I've answered your question there. And so, Brother Isaac, do you think it's advisable to get the SSA cert? Not really, because I'm going to have to start you from the beginning anyway. You will have to get the SSA cert as well as the Certified Solution Architect Professional cert. So if you're doing it, it's fine. We're also going to have to get you a most likely additional certification. But before I saw that, Brother Isaac, I want to ask your background a little more. What is your background as it stands right now? Because generally speaking, before I make a recommendation, I'd like to know exactly what you've done in your past, exactly what kind of experience you've had. And even if you tell me your experience at customer service, that's still valid for me. For example, we had one person that comes from a tech background. Okay, and I'm going to answer that next question in a minute. So what is your background? Whatever those jobs are, if you could list them for me, because we can take your background and help you translate it to something that hiring managers are going to want to hire. You're doing your bachelor's degree in economics. Okay, that's good. And 4 years of customer service. Okay, Brother Isaac, this is good because 4 years in customer service teaches you how to interact with others. Employers desire that. 4 years of customer service teaches you how to take problem children or like problem clients and keep them happy. That kind of customer experience thing is one of the strongest assets in cloud computing. That's what helped me coming from medicine. It's the same sort of way. That is a huge asset. Now, when I look at economics and you're looking at supply and demand curves and you're evaluating Keynesian economic theory versus classical economic theory, and you're looking at the psychology of what goes on with people, that's pretty terrific. Because if you understand that and you're able to understand the perspective of finding the optimal price per solution. And if you're able to understand how one variable can affect another variable, that will be a completely helpful environment to get you in the cloud environment, because it could be consultative. So that is actually a really great background to go in there. And then, Brother Isaac, if you actually tell me what you want to do on the cloud, like, for example, cloud security or cloud networking, we could really help build you a good plan. And that's what we do. We typically ask our people to specialize. And I'm glad you're asking a lot of questions, because I really want to help you. And actually, I should not do this on YouTube, but I'm going to do it anyway. If you want to ask me some deeper questions, because it's hard to do things in the chat box, you can literally call me. Here's my mobile phone number. I actually scheduled it like 1 or 2 hours after this call to be relatively available today. So if you've got a lot more questions, I'm happy to answer them. I want to make sure whether you're our student or not our student, we give you the best guidance we possibly can, because I love hearing when people get great careers, and people send me information and they tell me they got their first job and they thank me for the advice for the interview. It makes me super happy. So that's my phone number. So Brother Isaac, I'm really telling you that you should be good. Now, the cloud practitioner you mentioned, to let you know, we never have any of our students ever do the cloud practitioner. The reason we never do the cloud practitioner ever is that, realistically speaking, unless you wanted to be a sales rep, will have no impact on someone's career. And the cloud practitioner exam and the certified solution architect associate are relatively similar exams. So we typically start with a certified solution architect associate. Now, there are people, if they're in our program, that have already passed the cloud practitioner, that will have go straight from the cloud practitioner to the certified solution architect professional, because the cloud practitioner and the associate are so similar. Our goal when we do certifications is not necessarily to follow a model. Our goal is to talk to everyone, find out their strengths, their weaknesses, and their capabilities, and then find and build the path to get them there as fast as possible. And sometimes that means skipping certifications. Sometimes it means optimal certifications. Certifications for someone with one background will be different than certifications for another background. The way we view certifications are something that helps you get an interview. Certifications can round out some weaknesses on your resume and show some strengths. So certifications themselves can be an absolutely wonderful thing to help build your career, but they are only a fill-in to help make you look better on paper. So I hope I've answered your questions there, Brother Isaac. Love to speak to you. You have my number, so feel free to call me. So, Arona Alaho, what cloud job could you have with Linux essentials and a cloud practitioner experience? That could potentially get you involved in cloud sales. Do you want to tell me what your actual goals are? And if you tell me what your goals are, I can tell you exactly what that means. And Rook07, what time can your calls be GMT? So I have a lot of students in England. And because I have so many students in England, I also have a lot of students in Africa, and I also have a lot of students in Central European time too. What we do is we do one of our calls at 2 p.m. We do our Monday calls at 2 p.m. because that turns into 7 p.m., which is nice after hours time in the UK. And we also do our Friday calls at 12 p.m. Eastern, which turns into 5 p.m. GMT London time. And the reason we do that is that way we can get the entire US, as well as we can also get all of Europe and most of the African continent, and even so that's why in places like Greece, where I'm from, so that's why we use those 2 times. It's intentional because we have such a student population in the UK. Arona Laho, did you so it's 5 p.m. on Monday, and I'm sorry, you're right. It's 7 p.m. on Monday, and it's 5 p.m. on Friday. Those are the status of our group calls. But Rocco, I think you're missing the question. Those calls are when we actually do our lives. I thought you were asking about our program. Those calls are when we actually do our student training sessions. For example, if you're asking when we do our free How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar, the next one of them is actually going to be tomorrow, and it's going to be tomorrow at 5 p.m. GMT. I will drop the link on that free webinar right over here, and it's going to be tomorrow at 5 p.m. GMT. And then it'll be, again, we'll have another one on Monday at 0900, which will be 2 p.m. GMT. Okay, who else has a question for me? Reginald Simpson, I'd love to speak with you. Give me a call after this class, after the session. Got my phone number. Oh, Brother Isaac, that's very interesting. I have about 20 students from Nigeria. I have about 20 Cameroonian students. I have some students in Uganda. I have a fair number of students from Ghana. I have some students in South Africa. I have some Sudanese students. I've got some Ethiopian students. I've got some students from Eritrea. And there's actually Ghana, that's wonderful. What a nice population that not only has such a lighthearted and happy attitude towards life. I was trained by a Ghana physician when I was younger. That's where I did my clinical rotations. So I know that area very well. So I'm really blessed. I've got a large international community. I've got a tremendous number of wonderful students in Africa. Oh, I forgot to mention, I've got about 20 from the Cameroon. We do a lot of work in the Cameroon as well. So we're pretty covered all throughout Africa, as well as Europe and India. And we've got some Middle Eastern students that are living in Europe. And we've got people in the US, obviously Canada, and a lot in the UK. So love to speak with you, Brother Isaac. And Reginald, I'd love to speak to you as well. Reginald, I'd love to speak to you as well. I dropped my phone number in the chat box. Who else has questions for me? And I'm on WhatsApp as well as just a phone. So I'm pretty easy to find because what we do is so important to us. Who else has questions for us? Yeah, I'm happy to speak to you, brother. And we've got some special things going on in Africa, Brother Isaac. If you want to talk to me, just let me know. Anyone else have any more questions for me? Don't know what. Hi, Reginald. I'm glad you downloaded the book. To let you know, I'm having my students work with me. I'm leading it. One of the key things for cloud architects to actually do is to become expert writers. So I actually have my cloud architects with me, my students. They're writing an AWS Advanced Networking and Security book. Obviously, I'm the editor of these books, and obviously we'll do everything we can to assure the quality. We do this for lots of reasons. One is we want our students to be well known. Two is we want to build our students' names. In the process of having our students co-author books, we get them known as industry experts because everything we're doing is about doing these things. So, Reginald Simpson, when you want to build a cloud career, here's what you do. You focus 50% of your time on tech, meaning the network, the data center, the cloud, and all the specialty focus area that matters to you. And you spend 50% of the time on your interview skills, your presentation skills, your communication skills, developing emotional intelligence, developing empathy and the such. It's not just for soft reasons. There's good, strong reasons to do that. If I were to tell you the best predictor of your long-term career success is actually not your technical competency, but your emotional intelligence. And if I would tell you also, statistically speaking, that individuals with higher levels of emotional intelligence earn $29.6 thousand more per year than individuals with lower levels of emotional intelligence, don't you think it would be worth investing the time in your emotional intelligence to not only get you hired, but add $1 million to your salary at minimum throughout the course of your life? So, Reginald, that's exactly how I would focus. I would focus so much on getting those skills. Hi, Srinavis. Are you my student, Srinavis? Or although I think my student Srinavis is Indian but living in the UK, or are you another Srinavis? And hello and welcome. Any more questions for me? Another, of course, Srinavis is a very common name that comes from a deity, so very familiar with the culture. I even have these Nagchara incense candles that I use when I teach yoga. I teach some, call it geriatric disabled person yoga. I've been a yogi my whole life, but I had a pretty massive injury. So sometimes I work with people that have had major life changing injuries, and we use a form of Iyengar yoga that's been highly modified to help people. So when I do that, I try and make my studio feel a little more yoga-like. And there's these Nagchara things, which of course they service on them, based on the history. So I'm really happy you're here. Okay, you're a long timer in the industry. Initial part of your career has mostly been in software configuration management, but then drifted totally into management. That makes sense. And you're now trying to get into the technical side. Wow, I know this. I've done basic, gone to technical, super technical, management, and then went back technical. So I'm with you. Cernovus, the easiest jump for a software person would probably be DevOps, but you could do cloud architecture if you like as well. And don't apologize for long. The more content, the more information you give me, the better information. So I was going to ask probably 20 more questions. So thrilled that you're giving me the information necessary so I can help you to the best of my abilities. So if you've been involved in software, but DevOps is good. Now you just did a Kubernetes certification. Now you're talking. So now you've got a couple options because you have Kubernetes knowledge. And if you look at the cloud as a network and a data center, and that's it. And what are the cloud technologies that make it all work? The network, obviously, virtualization of the server container, so server virtualization containers, storage, and pretty much your normal applications. So now if you've got a Kubernetes background, that's pretty darn strong. So you would have the option based upon your experience of going down the certified solution architect professional path. You've got that Kubernetes certification. I'm assuming you've got some Linux or Unix kind of background, but please answer that for me. And then maybe we'd get you a little networking background to try and round you out, like a Cisco cert. And if you had a certified solution architect professional and a Cisco cert, and you're good with Linux, you could have a great job as a cloud architect. Or you could do the certified solutions architect professional, and in your case, just do one of the DevOps professional certs, and then immediately move into DevOps. Lots of time, it's a matter of making up for expertise, making up and building the personal resume. But if you've been in IT for 15, 20 years in software, and you just wanted to do DevOps, you're going to be a very easy transition because you've got that perceived experience already. Now, if you want to move into the architectural side, because it'll make you happier, not an issue, easy to be done. But it's going to be that's going to take a lot more work on soft skills, emotional intelligence, attitude, communication skills, writing skills. Highly noble, definitely always a good thing to do. But just to let you know, that's that would be your path to do it. Do you have any more questions for me, Cernovus? Okay, I have up to 10:30 today Eastern, so I've got about 11 more minutes that I can take questions before I have to get on calls. So is there any more questions for me? Okay, well, anyone that would like to speak to me, you have my number. Since it doesn't look like there's any more questions, I dropped the information for the Cloud Architect Career Development Program along with a 25% off coupon if anybody's interested. I also dropped the Cloud Architect Experience Program if anyone's interested. And what I did is left the phone number. Brother Isaac, there's not a day or a time where I'm not busy, but I gave you my number. Just give a call, and if for some reason I can't answer it at the time, and you leave a message, I promise to get back to you. Realistically speaking, same day. So great question, Stephanie. When will the new books about networking and security be available? We're dealing with about 6 weeks right now. The team's been a little slower than I hoped, but and the we are going to have a completely free live AWS Certified Solution Architect Bootcamp, and that's going to be coming up in 2 weeks. You are more than welcome to join that, Stephanie. I am going to add a link for that free bootcamp, the sign up for the free bootcamp below. And the link to the free bootcamp is going to be, we're going to host it live on YouTube. We'll do that. And we're most likely, meaning like 99%, going to take our Certified Solution Architect professional book that we have, add a little bit because some things have changed in the last 6 months, and then give that away for free very soon. But our biggest goal right now is getting out the security and the networking books. We're just so unhappy with the training that actually exists on the internet that we're trying to write free ebooks and give them away to everybody to help boost people's cloud computing careers. That is really important to us, to give people job skills, not just certifications. So any more questions for me? Okay, everyone, it was a real pleasure speaking with you today. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and please let me know if you have any questions. If you've liked this opportunity and what we've done this morning, if you can leave a like or a comment on the video, it helps our YouTube ranking, but it's not absolutely necessary, and only if you enjoyed it. It's been a real pleasure to speak to you all, and I will speak to you all very soon. Take care, everyone.